Good morning, everyone. This is Amber from MicroArtistry. So, I don't know if you guys saw my last video, but if you did, it's a comparison video between the Bronsun cream and the Bronsun gel, the new cream dye, which is also a hybrid, which stains the skin. So in that video, my number 5 in the gel was oxidized, and so it wasn't showing up on my skin. So I told you guys that I would do a new video that would show the difference between these two colors because you couldn't accurately see them. And then also to show what it looks like so you don't waste your time when you have a client. If you get air into your tubes, and if maybe your tube is a little old because they do have a shelf life, so if you get air into your tubes, you could end up 12 months. You could end up having your dye actually not work anymore, and it doesn't stain the skin even if you put your developer in. So today I'm going to show you a couple of things, what it looks like if your pigment or if your dye is not working anymore, and also what these two look like next to each other as a swatch. And then also I'm going to just kind of compare the Tint Kit to the 15 milliliter tint only. Okay, so I hope you guys hang out with me and kind of learn a little bit about the new cream line and about oxidation of your actual dye, and then we will get started now. Okay, so first things first, we're going to compare the Tint Kit versus tint only. So when you buy on and I've kind of done this on a video before, but there's people, so this is why I'm doing this. There are people who don't like the developer that Bronsun has, that is the large developer. And they don't like it because it's hard to squeeze, and I've never had a problem with it. But I do prefer the smaller developer. And I also prefer, and so this is the smaller developer, okay? So let's just compare these two. So the larger developer is 20 milliliters. The smaller developer is 5 milliliters. So it's much smaller, okay? Developer can last a very long time. This says that it has a 12-month shelf life, but as a hairstylist, I have had developer for a really long time. So look, this was produced in 2021, and then it says that it's expiring in 2024. So this can sit unopened for several years before you guys have to worry about developer going bad. However, this is much easier to squeeze than this. And so, that's kind of like why I prefer this one. And not just that, I also prefer these tint kits because at my office, where I work still, I don't actually I'm a permanent makeup artist by trade. And so I do brow sculpting, and I do enjoy that work. But most of my clients are actually permanent makeup clients. So I don't use my Bronsun in my office more than 3 times a week. So because of that, I prefer to have a smaller container of my Bronsun dye. So in this kit, they send you the tiny Bronsun developer, the 5 milliliter, then we have the 7 milliliter actual Bronsun baby tint instructions, and a little cup. All right, so I don't use any of those, although you can, of course. But I prefer to have the smaller sizes because I feel like I go through the tint a little slower than most brow artists who mostly do like waxing and sculpt. So I like to have my small container. As a matter of fact, leading into that, so let's pause. Okay, let me pause my train of thought. And what I'm gonna do is compare the 5 milliliter, or the tiny 5 milliliter Bronsun kit with the large 15 milliliter tint only. So we sell this as Tint Kit, at microartistryacademy.com. We sell this one as tint only. When you don't have a developer and you're buying tint only, you have to buy a developer. So you would purchase this and this in order to have, like, if you're a busy brow artist and you do a lot of sculpting, tint hybrid, all that stuff, then you would want this. But if you're someone who's checking it out, of course, we have our little tint trio, which I will put into the video right here, which is our collab with Bronsun that that is a perfect starter for people who are just starting in with Bronsun. It comes with 2 of these. It comes with 5, 6, and 7 brown, dark brown, light brown. Okay, so anyways, I prefer this. This is what the difference is. You would have to buy these 2 things separately. This comes together. All right, and if you don't do a ton of tint, or if you're just checking it out, it's the same price to buy this as it is to buy this. So, or about the same price on our website. All right, so moving on, I just want to show you what the difference is. If you don't like this developer and you think it's too hard to squeeze, you can store it upside down in your office or in your studio. Store this upside down. That way when you open it, it's easier to squeeze, okay? And then you can just squeeze it out. But if you don't like it, some people just don't like it, then I would buy this, which is very easy to squeeze. It comes in a much thinner plastic, and the whole thing is just easier to work with. You just slam it down, the developer moves down, and you squeeze it out, okay? So these are your options as far as the gel dye goes. Now, the cream dye is what we're comparing today with the light brown gel dye. So the cream dye currently only comes in the 15 milliliter. I don't know if they're going to make it in the tint kit as well. Maybe not. It may be. I don't know. I don't know yet. And so we're going to be comparing these 2 because last time when I had my video last week, the number 5 that I had in the gel, which was a small container in my office, was oxidized. So I have like 2 or 3 of them in my little container. I don't know if you guys saw my Bronsun video. It's kind of a mess. I have like all these little containers, and sometimes I just leave them in there even if they're almost empty. So I'll be like squeezing out and it's an old one and I need to throw it away. But if you're more organized than me while you're working, which is the goal probably, then you're going to want to know if your tint is good or if it's bad before you put it on your client, because you could waste a lot of time. So I don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste your client's time, and time is money. So let's talk about what this should look like compared to what an oxidized gel dye looks like. All right. Alrighty, so just getting my gloves on. And I'm going to show you the actual container of number 5 gel that I used the other day when I was doing my thing. And I said it looked a little funky, and I kind of could tell that it was not good anymore, simply because of how dark this is. So I've got my old number 5 that's been in my drawer over there. And so I'm just going to show you on our Lift and Tint palette kind of what it looks like. It's thick. I'm going to use this. So it's thick and it's dark. And it looks the color of what it should look like on the skin, basically. It's a little chunky. So this is how you know, compared to our brand new one, which I'm going to open right now. Just move that. Our brand new one, they have like this little pokey part. Pop that guy. And then there you go. So quite an obvious difference, right? It is clear gel. It is not full of dark chunks. All right, so this is like, if you guys don't know though, so this is the thing, like hairstyling is my background, right? So like to me, that's kind of obvious. Like when I saw it the other day and I said, it looks a little off, it looks a little funky, I kind of knew that it was completely not right. But I was like, okay, well, whatever. I didn't actually have another one of these in my studio at that moment, so I was just gonna do my swatch anyway. So here we are. Now we're doing more work, but it's good because it's an educational opportunity for you guys. So yes, bad gel dye Bronsun, good gel dye Bronsun, okay? So if you guys see this coming out of your tube, just toss it in the trash because there's air in there and it's not good anymore. Okay, so then the next thing that we're gonna do, so that's a pretty simple, you know, pretty obvious, right? Even if you add developer to this, it will not work. So what we're gonna do today is we're going to clean this off. I'm going to do a swatch on my arm of number 5 gel and the number 5 cream next to each other. So that way you guys can kind of see the swatch, because we didn't end up having a good swatch of that the other day. And so I'm gonna do that on my arm and then we'll check out the result. Okay, so now we're gonna use the Lift and Tint palette. I'm gonna show you the ratios. So we've got 10, 15, 25, and 50. So that equals 100%. You don't have to use it like that. So I'm gonna show you how I use it in order to actually save as much of my product as possible. So let me see if I can do this. So we're gonna do gel on this side. I'm just gonna fill in right on the inside of there. And then I'm gonna use my little developer and I'm gonna go right next to that with developer. So that way I know I'm using the exact amount. That's about all you need to do 2 eyebrows. Next, we're gonna do the cream, and that's gonna go in about the same amount of space here. And you can see the difference between a nice cream, the brand new cream dye, and the brand new Bronsun gel. And always tighten this up. So another thing people are saying they have problems with these is that they are cracking up here somehow. I have no idea how that's happening. So squeeze it like a tube of toothpaste. Start back here, okay? And just work your way up as you use this container and it should be fine. These are really strong containers, so I don't know why people are having that problem, but I've never had it. But it could just be that was kind of like a weak tube too. So if you guys buy anything like that from us, you know, we're the largest distributor of Bronsun and the original distributor in the United States. If you guys have a tube issue, we will send you a free tube, like no problem. Just hit up our customer service. It's hello@MicroArtistryAcademy.com. Okay, so if you have any problems and you're buying from us, we'll take care of you. All right, so next we're gonna mix. Sorry. Okay, so next we're gonna mix these two. It's a 1-to-1. So this is our gel. This is what it should look like when it's nice and fresh, and it's gonna work on your client and it's going to stain beautifully. Okay, so use that. And then we'll mix the cream. So see the difference between the way they look, and then they start getting darker immediately. Like once the 2 products are mixed together, you can tell this one's already darkening up. They start darkening up right away. The developer activates the product. All right, so we're gonna do that. Just double check it. And I'm gonna swatch it on my arm. So let me get my little tint brushes and we'll be back. Okay, so you're supposed to let this stand for about a minute before you apply to the skin. So that's what I've done. I've paused the video and I'm just letting this stand for a couple of minutes before I apply. So you're gonna wanna use it within like 15 minutes of it being mixed, for sure. But you don't want to apply it directly. It's just part of like how this oxidizes and how it like blends together. That the general rule with using Bronsun is that you want to put this on after about a minute. Now, I'm not sure how that rule applies with the cream dye yet, but we're just gonna check it out because I mixed them at the same time and we're gonna apply them at the same time. So here's my little swatch today. I'm not gonna use one of those big swatch things. Let me zoom out. Ooh, wrong way. There we go. So we're just gonna apply it in thin layers. Almost invisible thin layers. Okay, so this is kind of our first layer of color. I'm gonna let this dry fully, so I'm gonna take my lash fan and help it along and dry it, and then we will come back and take a look. Okay, so I've been drying with my lash fan for about 2 minutes. I've just sped up the video, and you can see that my gel is pretty dry, and then my cream still has a couple of wet spots, but I don't think it really matters with the cream. So let's try this again. We're just gonna do another layer. So just real thin. So see how much I have left and how dark they've gotten in this amount of time. Okay, so I'm just gonna okay. So this should continue to oxidize a little bit over the next hour or two. Let me just make sure I have all of that color off of that. So what do we see immediately? That the gel is a little cooler, which we know. We knew that the gel was going to be a little bit cooler in general because of the last video. All of the gels are a little bit cooler than all of the creams. These creams actually cool as you are wearing them through the day. So I'll take a picture outside of this swatch right now, and then in a couple of hours, and then tomorrow, so that you guys can see the difference between how these wear versus immediate results, okay? But in the meantime, I'm gonna dry this just a little bit more, and that's what I do for my clients anyways, just to kind of give it some more air and let that color sort of like bloom a little bit. Okay, so here's the final result after drying for a couple of minutes. I do love it. I think it looks nice. It's a nice warm color. I'm going to take some photos so you guys can see outside what the color actually is. I love both of them. I think there's a place in my studio for all of these tints, and I love the look of if you're looking, so like for a blonde, for like a true warm blonde, this is going to be really nice. It's hard to tell on my skin. I'm a Fitz 4, but for a true warm blonde, this is going to be nice. This is actually a little, not like I'm saying it's a little dark, but it is tiny bit dark compared to this one. This one's probably the warmest color that Bronsun, or the lightest color that Bronsun makes now. So this I really do like. So we're gonna go outside and take some photos and then compare those. Okay, I'm standing outside. Let's see if I can go into the light. There's a little shadow in that part of my office. Focus. Okay, guys, so that's the final result. Outside, inside the office. And as you can see, the number 5 gel is actually quite a bit darker than the cream dye. So I would say there's definitely room for the cream line in your studio. So check it out at microartistryacademy.com. Thanks.